All right, everyone, so we're not gonna have any rain clouds. We're gonna have nothing but rainbows, glitter, unicorns, and we're gonna get colorful because we're gonna talk about hair coloring, which is chapter 21 of the My Lady book. One of my personal favorite chapters, but this chapter does leave a lot to be desired because there is certain information that is in this book that is old, outdated, and that needs to be updated. So typically, the book will tell you, depending what version you're using, that it's best to color dirty, dry hair. Here's the problem with that. Back in the day, that had the purpose because liquid color was very liquidy. All the styles will tell you your peroxide wasn't stable. You had to make your peroxide, you had to use, it was almost like being a chemist. You had to really mix everything accordingly. And if you colored on clean dry hair or clean damp hair, the color would not adhere. It would actually drip down the client's face. It would burn. It was very, very alkaline. Now we're using color with less ammonia than we ever used to get the same result. We're adding ingredients that will help to condition the hair. And we're also using a lot of new chemicals such as the ammonia freeze, which they've been around for a bit, but they're finally making their way into professional colors, and I'll address that. So I just want to give you 3 tips to remember when you're reading this chapter, and one of them is that color and bleach do not damage hair. Again, color and bleach do not damage hair. Hair colorists who use it wrong damage hair with color and bleach. So it is not the product's fault, it is the user's fault. That's the first thing we've established. The second thing is that there is a difference between hairdressers who apply color and colorists. When I see students, or even when I'm in the salon, if I'm mentoring someone mix hair color, I give them the death stare if I see them just take 1 tube, mix it with developer, and I come over and I'm like, why did you just add 1 tube? What makes it different if you just add 1 tube than a client getting their hair, done at home with the box? Hairdressers do not come in a box, remember that. If a client uses a box dye, you can just gently remind them that the box is missing the most important thing. They'll go, what? Well, a hairdresser. We don't come in boxes. We don't use 1 tube. We always mix things. Be creative with this. So that sets us apart from what's being sold at the drugstore. Also know that you cannot shine hair with chemicals. And I know it's gonna sound a little odd, like what? People get in the habit all the time of using the clear gloss shine to shine hair. If you wanna shine someone's hair, shampoo their hair, give them a little bit of a trim if they have dead ends, give them a nice deep conditioner, and use a silicone-based product and blow dry the hair straight so the cuticle is closed. What makes you think that using an alkaline product is gonna shine the hair? In fact, if you watch, and this is a source I use for my students, there's a few sources I want you to look up. Look up Tom Dispenza, David Velasco, Andre Nizatich, who is responsible for some of the awesome stuff we have in this book, Lisa Kelly at Coastline Education. She runs an amazing class called Legally Blondes and the Freaks and Geeks. You can buy the Legally Blondes pre-recorded for a few months. Highly recommend watching that because it will help you protect yourself from a lawsuit and also help us do the services correctly. 40% of the work we do behind the chair is gray coverage, about 40% is blondes, and then the other 10% can vary from balayage to fashion colors. Or 20%, sorry, 40. So that's why it's like a range. I would even say it's a lot lower than that because this will vary between areas. If you're in a rural area, chances are going to be doing a lot of gray coverage, maybe not as much blonde, and you might not be doing as much fashion colors. So that really is what it really depends on your area, what city you live in. Also know, because I'm adding some other things, that this book will tell you how to create a beautiful color. What it does not tell you is how to remove color. So I'm gonna be adding that in at the end with color removers. It's an important thing to know when you're behind the chair because so many stylists, and don't make this mistake, they have something on the hair or color on the hair, they'll just bleach it out and they'll bleach it out and bleach it out and all of a sudden the hair is coming out and it feels dry and dead. Do not bleach old color out, use a special color remover. Also know that you can color hair, and I recommend this, on clean, damp hair. Think about if you have a sponge, right, and there's a spill. If you just take a dry sponge and throw it on the spill, it's gonna take a while for it to clean up. You wanna wet that sponge so it sucks up the water. You don't want the hair sopping wet. Shampoo the hair, condition the hair, towel dry it really well. When it's damp, it'll cover really, really well. Also know that you are not allergic to ammonia because technically you could not pee if you're allergic to ammonia. You are allergic to the PPD, which is only used for certain shades, and we'll talk about this if I ever do an advanced color video. Color allergy is real. Make sure you always do the patch test. If a client is allergic, try a lighter shade or try a different brand and see what the results will be. Always do allergy testing and always keep a bottle of Benadryl in your back room just in case you do have a reaction, because it does exist. Also know that ammonia-free does not equal damage-free. Ammonia-free colors, here's the down low on that. They use a chemical called monoethylolamine, MEA, or aminomethylpropylene, AMP, the latter of which, AMP, is a lot safer for the hair in a demi color, but you need twice or more the amount of MEA to be just as effective as 1 dose of ammonia. Ammonia is our friend. It allows the color to go in and escapes the hair as a gas. The MEA can stay trapped in the hair, and over time it builds up and builds up and builds up. I've been hearing professionals tell everyone to use ammonia-free color to lighten hair. It's a very risky thing if you're overlapping, because what happens is that will cause eventual damage if you're not removing it from the hair. I've heard mixed things. Some say you can chelate it out of your hair almost like you would with a no-lie relaxer, because with no-lie relaxer, remember, it leaves the mineral deposits. Well, the MEA that's built up in the hair, you might be able to remove it with a chelating treatment, do a Malibu C treatment, really cleanse and clean the hair before you're putting this product on. If they feel an itch, that's just the ammonia, that's totally normal. Also, so that is going to be my few tips before I get too off topic, but I just want to give you some important pointers. So look up Coastline Education, the ABC. If you are interested in hair color, look up the ABCH, the American Board of Certified Hair Colorists. It is such an important resource to use. And my last tip for you, when you're using hair bleach, do not ever exceed 20 volume. Bleached will not work better with 30, 40 volume, right? The only thing that you're going to be using 30 and 40 volume is when you want extra lift with hair color, and 40 volume for high lift especially. I've used 40 volume, 30 volume to create amazing reds, or if someone's at a natural level 6, 40 volume and a blonde shade, that will do the job because you're lifting 4 levels. You're going to tone out all that yellow with a level 10 cool base color or high lift. So let's jump into this. Why people color the hair. The book gives you a whole bunch of reasons. There are so many ways you can color hair and why it's an important service. You can cover up or blend gray hair, which is the majority of your work. Think of gray coverage as your bread and butter. This is going to pay your rent, your mortgage, your car, your important fees, and then everything else, your fantasy colors, your balayages, that's going to be extra money for you. That will help you budget yourself. You can enhance an existing color, create a fashion statement or self-expression, correct unwanted tones in the hair by environmental exposure, such as sun, chlorine, smoking, all the good stuff. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention. When people use certain types of recreational medication, I won't say which, but I'll give you some hints. It smells like a skunk and it is green in color and really, really stinky. When they use this specific recreational medication, it gets trapped in the hair, and what happens is when you're bleaching the hair, you'll be going to check the bleach and you'll go, oh, green! That's why you gotta chelate that out of the hair with the Malibu C treatment. Also know that you can color hair to accentuate a particular haircut. And know that when a client comes to you for color, make sure you're able to explain it with some scientific stuff to make, this is about selling your services. And if you can explain to them like how you can help them color the hair, and if they think, oh, I'm worried about hair color being damaged, remind them that hair color you'll need some maintenance to upkeep this. So you want to talk about, is this color a good choice for you if they want to go bright red, but let's say they're a swimming teacher, they're always in the water, it's really not going to last as long. But just give them a heads up, and also tell them what you can offer them. So know that, and this is a really cool fact, hair color, one word, is a professional industry term referring to artificial curve services, such as hair color, one word. We can have a bottle of hair color. Hair color, 2 words, refers to natural hair, so you can say that 2 words, your hair color is naturally brown. So some basic hair facts. You want to know that it is very important to know how the structure of hair works, because some hair, the color may cause a dramatic change. If the hair is very fine and has a high porosity, it's going to accept that hair color better than something that's coarse and resistant. You want to know the structure. Just a reminder that your cuticle is the outermost layer of hair. We need to lift this with ammonia, make it alkaline in order to get our color and peroxide in there to lighten and lift the hair and deposit pigment. So it protects the hair. It contributes to 20% of the overall strength of the hair for your test. Know that. Cuticle, 20% of the overall strength. Cortex is our middle layer where all the magic happens, where you got your melanin pigments, melanocyte granules, and it contributes 80% of the overall hair. So melanin granules, they look like chips on a cookie. In fine textured hair, they're a little bit more condensed. Medium texture, a little bit more spaced out, and coarse texture, they're spread out even further. So the pigment with these melanin determine the color of your hair naturally. Also know that texture plays a role. Texture refers to diameter, whether it's fine, medium, coarse. That will affect the hair coloring process. Also know to a certain extent, your skin tone will reflect the color. So for example, certain things, if someone has very coarse curly hair and you bleach it and bleach it and bleach it and bleach it, but their skin's a little darker, it's gonna be very difficult and near impossible to get perfect pure white on that hair because the way the light will reflect. I took an advanced coloring class and I learned that, and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. So know that certain colors may not look like you, come out like you want them to. Coarse hair, because it's so coarse, it might show a little bit warmer than intended, so take that into account when you're selecting a particular hair color. Coarse hair is also very resistant. You'll want to process the hair color longer. Know that porosity is very important when you're processing color. Hair that has a low porosity is going to have a very tight cuticle. It's going to be considered resistant. It means that it's difficult for moisture or chemicals to penetrate. It requires a longer processing time. Average porosity, the cuticle is slightly raised, the hair is normal and processes in an average amount of time. And with high porosity, the cuticle is lifted or it might be very damaged, and it takes the color like that. It will fade very quickly. Know that permed, colored, chemically relaxed, straightened hair will have a very high degree of porosity depending on how damaged it is. There's also 5 grades of porosity. Grade 1 is very healthy and grade 5 is very damaged. If you've done training with ABCH, you'll learn that. I was shocked when I learned that. I always thought it was 3 grades, low, average, and high, but it's actually 5. So the book should edit that in the future to be mindful of that. Also know that porosity will make a permanent hair color temporary and a temporary hair color permanent. What I mean by that is, let's say you just bleach someone's hair out and it's at that pale yellow stage, and they think, oh, I'll just, they go home and they'll say, I'll shampoo my hair with a red shampoo and it will deposit some color and I'll be a redhead temporarily. Oh no, it'll turn their hair a hideous color of a salmony pink and it will not come out and will require additional processing, because those molecules will be able to penetrate and absorb deeper and actually stain the hair and create a staining effect. That's why when you're using semi-permanent color, people think it only lasts a little bit longer. And that might not always be true. It might leave a slightly stained look depending on the tenacity of the dye. A lot of blue colors are like that. They tend to have smaller molecules and they're the strongest and most overpowering. And high porosity hair will reject warmth and accept cool, so it tends to drab it quick. Be careful when you're toning with that. When you're tinting back, when you're going back from bleached hair to normal, to your natural color, I shouldn't say normal, your natural color, you're gonna wanna put the natural red back in, so a lot of people will freak out. You wanna put a red protein filler in there, fill that hair up, and then you're gonna wanna use a demi or semi-color to go back to the brown shade to match what you're using on your regrowth formula. And I always say err on the side of lighter because that will look a little bit more natural and it won't be as drab. If you're doing cool tone colors, be very careful, because what happens is it will take like that and it will come out off color. If you have a bleach blonde and you just throw black hair color on it, it will come out very patchy, 1, and 2, it will turn off blue, off green, or off purple color. So there are different ways to test for porosity. One of the ways I've done is you can do the water test, where you take the water, put the hair in. If the hair sinks to the bottom really, really quick, that's how you know it's porous, because the hair's been opened, that water stops right in there. The book gives you a version where you take several strands of hair from 4 different areas of the head, the front of the hairline, temple, crown, and nape. You want to hold the strands securely, and if the hair feels smooth, the cuticle is compact, dense, and hard, it has low porosity. If you feel a slight roughness, it's average porosity. If the hair feels very dry, rough, or breaks, it has a high porosity. Observe hair wet and dry to see porosity. Also know, again, that extremely porous hair rejects warmth when color is applied and it can process more quickly. On hair that's about to break, know that the toner will go gunmetal gray to almost like a violet. And there are different types of melanin in the natural hair. Natural hair color ranges from black, dark brown, red, dark blonde, and platinum blonde. There is eumelanin, which is the melanin that leads to black and brown hair. Think of U blue, kind of like blue-black. That's how I remembered it. Phomelanin, pheo yellow, kind of rhymes. It's the melanin that gives blonde and red colors to hair. So pheomelanins will result in a natural blonde or natural redhead. Eumelanin is a melanin that will create black and brown colors. Mixed melanin is a combination of natural hair color that contributes both pheomelanin and eumelanin. Contributing pigment is also called the undertone, and it's the varying degree of warmth that's exposed during a color service or lightening service. When you lift the hair more, you're exposing more warmth. That's why the rule of thumb is to stay natural, 2 shades lighter, 2 shades darker. If you lift more than 2 levels, you run the risk of exposing more warmth, which may be ideal, and it may not be ideal. If you're creating a really nice fashion red, if the person is a natural redhead, that will last a lot longer. 2, if they're like about a natural level 5 or 6, they have enough in there to lift them. Or if they're very dark, they'll hold the red even really well because they make high lift reds, which I don't talk about in the book, but those reds have extra red pigment and a stronger alkalinity, so they allow the red pigment to penetrate not only deeper, they penetrate more of the pigment. It also allows for the hair to be lifted more, so you're putting pigment on top of that red undertone. It'll make a fierce, fashiony red. In hair that is dark or light brown, dark blonde, it accepts high lift really well. You can get near platinum results if you just use a high lift. You don't have to use bleach. The reason being is there is less of the underlying pigment in there, so when you expose the warmth, it'll be more yellow, and you're able to tone that out with a toner after or a colored shampoo. If you throw a high lift hair color on someone who is naturally black hair or dark brown, you will get a screaming orange head. If you're not careful, you might even get an off color or warmer color. You'll get at least a level 8. So also know that when we talk about hair color with the manufacturer, we use the level system. The level system is a system that goes from level 1 to level 10. Level 1 is a natural black, and level 10 is your platinum colors. So know that every manufacturer, their level system might be slightly off. Some shades use a little bit warmer, other shades use a little bit lighter. So when you're using the level system, you want to try to match the hair identically. Don't just look at the book and go, oh yeah, that's a level 5, and guess at it. Actually take the swatch up, put the client's hair over, and keep going until you can't see the actual swatch. It should blend right in. If a client is in between, I always say go on the lighter shade because it's easy to darken someone's hair. Some people say choose darker. That's really up to you and what you'll decide. Typically, if it's a little bit light, you can just tone it to a deeper shade. So know that lightness and darkness will be the depth. Darkness is going to be depth and lightness will be the lighter shade. I know it's a little confusing how they write it. So the level system is going to show you, level is going to be saturation, density, or concentration. What that means is that a level 1 is going to be very, very concentrated, very intense. There's a lot of pigment there. A level 10, it's absent of just about every single pigment. So that is how we identify natural color. Also know that you can classify hair by the color family, so people get in the, the whole thing of, oh, what level they're, this and that. When you're learning with the ABCH to talk about color families, and they come in red, which is the rarest, typically someone who is red will be more vibrant when they're younger, and then as they get older, they go to pure white. They're one of the rare cases where someone goes all white really quick. Redheads also tend to be very, very resistant to take color, and lightener, it takes a lot longer to process. I've read one of the source books, which is a hair color book, and it said that it's because they have more sulfur in their hair, or more sulfur pigments, so it makes it more resistant. Also know that there is warm brown, which is going to be your natural blondes. They account for a majority of our color clients because they want to be back to that natural, beautiful blonde they had when they were younger. They start life very, very white, almost platinum, and they darken up as they age. There's dark brown, which is very, very dark brown and black, and there's warm brown, which tends to be like your sandy browns. So I'm going to break here, take your 5-minute break, absorb in what I told you. We're going to be talking about gray hair, color theory, and all that when I come back.